So I figured I'd make a video about Paul Bearer's passing, and I have to say that this was very sad news indeed. One of wrestling's greatest managers, without a doubt. Paul Bearer. When I hear the words wrestling manager, I think of, a couple of men. And, like Jimmy Hart, Fuji, a bunch of guys, and at the top of that list, without a doubt, is Paul Bearer. I mean, he just had more charisma than all of them. You know, Paul Bearer was all psychological. You had guys like James Cornette who were great. They had a lot of personality. But, Jimmy Hart. But, they just didn't hold a candle to Paul Bearer. The guy was a real character. And a lot of times his performance at ringside was almost as good as the one in the ring from The Undertaker, Kane, or Mankind. The guy just verbally and physically he took something as simple as standing outside the ring and turned it into an art form. I mean, the guy also knew how to cut promos better than a lot of wrestlers during the 90s. He just came off as a real character, as just a guy that you knew, like, really cemented himself in the WWE. He managed, three of the biggest names of all time: Undertaker, Kane, Mankind. He was there at the side of all these great wrestlers when, they were having all their classic matches and all shit like that. I mean, he was there with probably one of the freakiest incidents of all time, where The Undertaker was going to embalm Stone Cold in a mortuary. Paul Bearer, just a funny, spooky, just legend. You can't, think about Undertaker without thinking about Paul Bearer. Just so many moments with Paul Bearer's presence attached to them. I mean, the guy is just a piece of history. And it's very sad. Dying at 58 years old. I heard that he had respiratory problems. Quite obvious the man's weight was probably a factor in the death, if I had to take a guess. But it's really scary. I mean, this guy is only 3 years older than my dad, and it's 58 is not an old age. It's very far from the life expectancy in this country. And it's sad. It's just like another wrestler, wrestling personality dying, and it's just it's just amazing that like it's another big name, and it's just a horrible thing to think about. Only 58 years old. There have been wrestlers and people in wrestling who have died younger, but this is still, it's bad. This is a guy that, to the best of my knowledge, I didn't hear anything. It wasn't on heavy drugs or anything like that. So, what can I say? All respect in the world. A guy that I was a pretty big fan of. And Paul Bearer, you will be missed.